Disasters are ever present, whether that's natural or man-made, and today we will discuss why our health is at risk right now. You came here for the truth, so let me unveil that for you. Let's get into this, my favorite topic, and that is genetically modified food. Gene-altered apples get U.S. approval. This article is out of the New York Times. The government on Friday approved the commercial planting of genetically engineered apples that are resistant to turning brown when sliced or bruised. That's right, how terrible is it that when you cut open a fruit, it begins to turn brown? Yes, that oxidization is terrible. Why in the world doesn't the government step in sooner and stop that from happening? I am so glad that they came in here to stop all of those bruised fruits and browning fruits. That's right, we do not need that here. Non-browning feature will be popular with the consumers and the food service companies, and this is absolutely true because the individual wants everything to look so pretty, and if there is a bruise on that fruit, God forbid. So here they are talking about creating products that are better for the consumers and not necessarily more natural or even organic is how they should be. Now, what happens when you feed genetically modified foods to animals? And they've done the testing on these. Most of the times when they're doing testing for GMO, they only test it at a maximum of 90 days. And in fact, they do their own testing. That's the craziest part about this, is that they have to supply their own study to the FDA, and that is the way they determine the safety. So right there, this is obviously a complete joke. But of course, the studies that they have done out there show specifically that when they feed genetically modified food to different types of animals, ones particularly with the shorter lifespans, like rats and mice, they find that they become sterile, they suffer from infertility, they have organ failure, and many, in fact, die from eating this food regularly. Generation after generation, we see the infertility becoming very apparent. And look at where we are in our cycle here, experience with the genetically modified food, and you can see how bad infertility is today. So this is very important information to look at, and the genetically modified food and GMO is becoming more ever present every single day. It's pervasive. So let's get on to this, one of my favorite topics, and that is fluoride. Fluoride in the drinking water may trigger depression and weight gain, warn scientists. This article is out of the Telegraph, and what they're saying is that 15,000 people could be suffering needlessly from thyroid problems because of fluoride in the drinking water, according to the University of Kent. So, of course, this is not me saying this in this case. This is actually the University of Kent, according to the study that they've done. Now, if we were actually having fluoride, as in sodium fluoride, in the water, we could have this debate. But if you are from most cities in the US and Canada, just as an example, you do not have sodium fluoride in the water. You have hydrofluorosilicic acid in the water, and that is actually a toxic chemical byproduct from the phosphate industry, from the metals like aluminum industry. It is actually a toxic waste that is a byproduct from these industries. They bottle it up and they put it into our water supply. And this is incredibly criminal, but they're able to go ahead and actually put this there legally. And not only are they able to put it there, but our own water supply companies and the departments of the government are actually buying it as a commodity, and that makes it even more sick. So there are so many dangers with fluoride. If you want more information on that, I do have it in my book, which free ebook that is. And you can go to fluoride.themoneygps.com. The link is down below in the description. I have 3 free ebooks, in fact, for you to take a look at. But we're talking about fluoridation right here. According to the EPA, fluoride is among the list of, quote, chemicals with substantial evidence of developmental neurotoxicity. That means it messes up your brain. And it's in the same category as arsenic, cocaine, and LSD. That's how serious this really is. So you can check this out for yourself. I won't go on. I want to move on to the next topic. And here we have radiation, obviously being a big problem, something that we actually cannot control in most cases, particularly when we're talking about the radioactive leaks that take place not just at Fukushima, of course, but at pretty much every single nuclear reactor around the world. Radioactive Fukushima water leak was unreported for months, according to this official. We're looking at NBC News, but this news is now all over the world. Right here, Tokyo, the operator of Japan's tsunami-stricken Fukushima nuclear reactor plant, admitted it failed to report a rainwater leak from the facility for about 10 whole months. Yeah, I guess it just slipped through the cracks there. I guess he just forgot to talk about it, perhaps bring it up to his superiors, perhaps notify the people in the area, the poor people that are suffering because of what's happening right here in Fukushima. And it continues to this day. Just because it falls out of the news doesn't mean it's not still happening at this moment right now. Now let's move on to this one. It is a connected article. Sensors at the Fukushima nuclear plant have detected a fresh leak of highly radioactive water to the sea, the plant's operator announced Sunday, highlighting difficulties in decommissioning the crippled plant. Of course, as I said, these problems have not stopped. It just continues, and in fact could very well be getting worse, and they're having a tough time stopping it. And here we are years later, this stuff is still dumping into the atmosphere, it's dumping into the ocean, and obviously the whole ecosystem is being destroyed at the same time. It can't be stopped at this point, and everything that they're doing is actually not having much of an effect at all. They detected contamination up 70 times greater than already high radioactive status seen at the plant campus. 70 times greater, and this is obviously showing you that things are getting worse. In fact, radiation is a big problem. Look it up that you can find 3/4 of nuclear reactors leaking. I've even heard statistics of 9 out of 10 of them leaking. Let's look at this here, just basically trying to show you that there was an earthquake, multiple earthquakes. In fact, the first time since the catastrophic 2011 earthquake, the nation has been rocked with a series of ever stronger tremors, with 6.0 stronger quakes recorded in just the past 2 days. This information is a bit outdated, but essentially wanted to show you, look at this. Japan's government aims to restart its first nuclear reactor by around June. Hopefully they do not do this. They are already in such a bad situation. I know they need to report to the public that they're doing everything they can, whether that's true or not. But if they're going to open it up, it's going to cause more problems. They're still having these earthquakes that have taken place, and thankfully nothing really went on. In addition to that, we don't know what's going on here, but the fact remains is that it's not getting better. In fact, it's getting worse. Well, at least we can have some good food to celebrate over. After first lab-grown burger, test tube chicken is next on the menu. That's right, I would love a delicious test tube chicken. If possible, you want your chicken to be nice and fresh, and that's for sure. You don't want it grown in these disgusting farms that they have, because it could be contaminated. But surely we would want the test tube chicken to be next on the menu, that's for sure. I know I'd be first in line to get me one of these. Researchers start to study the create chicken cells in a test tube. That is just incredible. I'm not even sure why in the world They're studying this because it's going to make its way into the processed food. Soon it will replace all of the chicken on the store shelves because it'll be much more easier to grow. You're going to have the farmers being out of business, in fact, and the chemical laboratories are going to be a booming business. This article is out of Reuters. You can read it for yourself, but essentially what they're saying is that, look, the global demand for meat is doubling by 2050, and we're going to need some more meat, and the farms simply can't keep up, so we need to create it synthetically. And this just goes to show you how bad things have become. To me, right off the bat, that doesn't seem safe at all. But look at this right here. It's talking about the FDA and their misconduct. You can tell for yourself how bad things are when they allow all these genetically modified organisms into the food supply. That should be illegal right away. But here we have faked x-ray reports, forged retinal scans, phony lab tests, secretly amputated limbs, all done in the name of science when researchers thought that nobody was watching. I can't believe I'm reading this, but this is one of those ones you're going to have to read into yourself just to get it all in. I just wanted to cover it quickly. That's the way I do this. I touch on the points, and then you have to do the research for yourself. This isn't the mainstream media where they simply tell you the facts that you must know and they hide everything else from you. The links, the sources in every one of my videos are always in the description. And right here, they're talking about the scientific fraud that has been done. For more than a decade, the FDA has shown a pattern of burying the details of the misconduct. There's so much to go through here. I just wanted to note the fact that we have these agencies that are there to, supposedly, to protect us. But in fact, they're actually there to cover up the misconduct. That is very evident, outlined here in this article. You can then read on for yourself in the information that is there publicly in the free ebooks that I have. I get into that as well. Let's move on to this here, where it gets just so extreme, with scientists store data inside DNA that could last millions of years. Now, I don't want to get into the details, but essentially they're saying that they could have their manipulation of your DNA. They could store it inside, create whatever they want, store it in your DNA. And should you allow them to do this, who knows what this could possibly do? They do not know the extent of the DNA. DNA acts as an antenna, able to receive information. The DNA can be manipulated very easily because they've figured out how to reprogram it, and they do this by different means. I'm not going to get into it here, but essentially the way that they can do this is being advanced, and we do not want this to happen. They think that it's a medical breakthrough, but in fact it is actually nothing but a destructive force. That's all I'm going to say about this article. I want to move on to this right here, another article out of the Daily Mail. Google says humans could live for 500 years, and it is investing in firms hoping to extend our lives fivefold. Now, this would seem like good information, like a good thing right off the bat here, but Google's director of engineering, Ray Kurzweil, previously said we'd be uploading our brains to machines by 2045. But guess what? It's not you and I that are going to receive this technology. It is the elite that want to use this technology to basically live forever, and that's what they intend on doing. I'm not even saying this is possible. However, you see this repeatedly over and over again. Ray Kurzweil is in fact one of these individuals that is at the forefront of this type of talk, and they are going ahead with doing this. It starts with the bionic limbs and so on and so forth that are definitely helping a lot of people, but then it gets taken into this extreme level where they essentially, where Ray Kurzweil in fact wants to essentially merge with the machines, and this gets into these wacky territory. And the fact remains is that once it becomes pervasive, where people are actually voluntarily applying for this, like for example microchips in the human body, it may then escalate to the point where it becomes actually required. That's where they draw the line. That's where it becomes too much, and we have to say things now. We have to speak up about it now before it gets bad. Look at what's happening with the genetically modified food. It's going to spread out there. The seeds can then blow in the wind and find their way into someone's organic garden. They end up growing genetically modified crops without even knowing it. Look at the fluoride. It's in the water. People think it's actually good for their teeth when they've never, literally never in their life looked up the data. It's not even sodium fluoride that's found in toothpaste that they're actually doing all the studies on. It's hydrofluorosilicic acid. We're not even talking about the same product. And then you look at all the disasters that are caused by things like Fukushima, like the nuclear reactors all around the world, in fact, leaking, spreading radiation, whether it's into the water supplies, into the soil, whether it's finding its way into the atmosphere, blowing around. We have no stopping all of this. It is just escalating worse and worse, and we see the diseases piling on at alarming rates. But all that happens is that the institutions like the FDA, like whatever it is in your country, are in fact doing nothing but covering up all of the dangers. If you found this video informative, please give me a thumbs up. You have to subscribe on this YouTube channel. I'm releasing a video practically every single day, getting to the deep intel, those pieces of information that other alternative news simply won't cover, and of course the mainstream media completely ignores. I also wanted to note that you need to become an insider to get the latest and greatest intel. It's available at themoneygps.com. You just scroll down to the bottom, fill in your email address, and you get occasional emails from me with good, short, concise info.